Welcome to Jawing About the Gmen. I am Joe McGuire along with Sean Scanlon. We will be joined by King Zay in just a little bit. Now, Sean, my goodness gracious, the first half of this game against the Cardinals was almost as bad as what we saw in week one against the Dallas Cowboys. You and I were just discussing this. It seemed like at halftime, the season was over. They didn't seem like they could get anything going. The offensive line, atrocious. Daniel Jones was on the run the whole time. Joshua Dobbs looked like a Pro Bowler out there in the first half. Good. Everything that could go wrong in 6 quarters had gone wrong for the Giants.
Yeah, it was like you said, not pretty at all. I was ready to throw the towel in on the season, just 6 quarters through, which is never fun, especially after coming off of last season. There were a lot of high hopes going into this year, and then you go into playing a team that's actively tanking. They're trying to get the number 1 pick, and they come in and smoke you in that first half. So it wasn't fun to watch at all. Like you said, the offensive line got a little bit better in the second half. But, yeah, especially without Andrew Thomas, you were hoping that they would hold up in pass protection, but did not look good in the first half. The run defense has been god-awful. They haven't been able to stop really anyone. And like you said, Joshua Dobbs running over Xavier McKinney to get in the end zone, that was not a pretty sight, not a good look for X. But they turned it around in the second half. This offense looked really good, kind of what we expected them to look like a little bit going into this season. So they had 5 straight drives of ending with a score. They didn't punt the ball once in the second half. So hopefully they can just build on that, carry that momentum into the Thursday game tomorrow with the Niners. Obviously, the Niners are going to give us a huge test, similar to what the Cowboys did in week 1. They have a great front 7, really good pass rush. And Andrew Thomas is going to be out again tomorrow. So hopefully those new guys, Josh Azudu at left tackle and Marcus McKesson, can kind of figure it out. Ben Bredesen is going to be out again, or out with a concussion. He was out for most of the game last week. So I don't really have super high expectations going in against the Niners. That's not to say I think the season is over like I did after the first 6 quarters, but the Niners are the class of the NFC, right up there with the Eagles and Cowboys. Coming off a short week, we're a little banged up. Obviously, no Saquon either. I'm just hoping for, to keep it under 10 points. That's what the spread is right now. So if we can keep it close, see more signs of life from this offense, then that'll be good. But I just hope for some points against a very good Niners defense. Hope to keep it somewhat close. And then I'm not really expecting a W, but as long as we can, build upon what we did in that second half against the Cardinals, then I'll be happy with that outcome.
All right. Let's not get crazy yet. We'll get into that game in a minute. Zay, we're just talking about how god-awful the Giants were. Obviously, in the first game of the season against the Cowboys, you get to halftime, you're down 20-0. It's 60-0 6 quarters into the season. This team obviously comes out in the second half, and this is somewhat concerning. Let's talk about this for a minute. The Giants have only scored 15 touchdowns in the first half under Brian Daboll, 27 in the second half. Clearly a second half team. They went in there, they made some adjustments. Zay, this looked like a different team in the second half.
Yeah, definitely did. I think a lot of that you can attest to with Brian Daboll actually calling the plays, no matter whether he'll admit it or not. I think that's a big thing that we've seen. As far as the first game, Giants caught a lot of bad breaks to be down that much at half. You could just see it was deflating. It really just brought down the team in general with the rain. They really didn't have any fight in the second half. They lost it in the first half. So I'm not using that one game to determine the whole entire team because, again, I think that was more of a moral thing. I don't think the Giants were that, are 40 points worse than the Cowboys. I don't think, every time they play, they're going to lose by 40. I think that was one of those, like I said, one of those situations where if everything could go wrong, it went wrong. So that was one of those situations the Giants dealt with. Just, again, positive to see them bounce back again in the second half of that game last week. Again, a game where it started off where anything that could go wrong for the Giants did go wrong, but they fought together. They pulled it together. They got together. They figured, I don't know how to put it without saying Dable won the game for us, but he did. Dable taking over the play call. If you look at the first half and second half of the Cowboys game, he never had a play sheet in his hand, didn't have a play sheet near him, couldn't find one. And if you look at the second half of the Cardinals game, he's very vocal. He's got the play sheet covering his mouth. He's obviously calling plays or calling the style of play that he may want called. So I think that's a big thing. But again, look at the Dable effect. You see what's going on with Josh Allen. Josh Allen hasn't looked like Josh Allen since he's left. And then you give, Brian Dable the reins and he's calling the plays. And Daniel Jones looks like the second coming. It just goes to show you how, important and how big he is on that team. But this team, again, this is going to be a huge task going into this week. Week 3 against the 49ers, short week. You're missing 4 starters, 3 on your offensive line. You're obviously your running back.
All right. We're going to get to our preview in a minute. Can we relish for a minute? You guys don't you guys want to just move right on to the next week?
We don't want to talk about the 60-0 anymore.
Let's talk about, listen, Zay, I told Sean this and I want to share this as I'm very excited about it, but my son this week decided he's in. He's a Giants fan. He's totally invested. It's 20-0 at the half. And I'm explaining to him they lost 40-0 last week. And he starts doing the math in his head. And he's like, oh, they're on pace to lose 40-0 again. And so, interestingly enough, this team comes out in the second half. And I got to tell you, Daniel Jones has one of the best deep balls in the league. I don't know why they don't do that more. You go down the field, you get the ball in Hyatt's hands. Once that happened, it seemed to me that this offense got on track. Immediately, Arizona scored again. It was 28-7, and I said to my son, the Giants are going to come back and win this game 31-28 on a field goal. And you could imagine this little dude's shock at the end of the game when the Giants crawled all the way back. This toss here from Daniel Jones, mint.
Jones throws, end zone shot. It's caught by Hodgins for the touchdown.
I mean, my God, I know some people don't want to admit this, but this is a really good quarterback. And when this guy's protected and has time, this might be one of the top 5, top 10 guys in the league. In the second half, Daniel Jones threw for 250 yards, ran for 50, threw a couple of touchdown passes, ran for a touchdown, no turnover, and became the first quarterback in NFL history to do all of those things.
Not to mention he was robbed the catch that Slayton clearly caught, got a full leg in. They literally took that whole thing away from him. But yeah, that's impressive. And not to mention that play you showed, that was literally the first touchdown play that was called again when the Giants ran against Minnesota last year in the playoffs. That was literally the first exact play, same side, same receiver. And I don't think Hodgins has dropped the ball since he's been a Giant, if I'm being honest. So you want to throw that in there. That man is super consistent on top of that. So having those things around Daniel Jones is very good. I think the Giants will start to open up more once the offensive line starts blocking better, figuring out what they're going to do with the Evan Neal situation, of getting guys back like Bredesen, Andrew Thomas. When they can have guys that can protect Daniel Jones, then they could take those shots. But right now, they currently don't have the protection up front to do that. So that's why the game plan changed. And then obviously in the second half, they was in effort mode. We ain't got no choice. And that's the results we got. So it's either they play in effort mode or they figure out this offensive line. And that's how the Giants are going to move forward with this year if they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, like you guys said, we haven't seen that before in a half in football. First time in NFL history. NFL has been around for a long time now, so put some respect on our QB's name. I think he definitely has a chance to, step into that top 10 QB tier this year if he continues to do what he did in that second half. But just a dual threat, super athletic. He's a great runner. And like you said, the deep ball, we really haven't seen that a lot, especially in Dable's offense. But I think Jalen Hyatt really, brings that element to this offense. Those big shots to him were great. Obviously, you bring in Darren Waller. Isaiah Hodgins has been super consistent. So I really do like what this receiving core brings. I think it will only add to what Daniel Jones does for this offense. So I think if they continue to keep doing deep shots like that, it will only help put more points on the board for this offense. I think it will be tough to do without Saquon because I think the run helps set that up a little bit. If you bring more players in the box, obviously there's going to be more opportunities downfield. So I don't think we'll see it too much this week, especially with the pass rush that the Niners bring. But if we do have that element added to the offense, I think it's only going to help us down the line.
I'm going to dog our boy Sander in a minute, but first I'm going to read his comment. That O-line is going to have to protect because Giants, other than Waller, doesn't have the weapons on the outside to get open quick and get the ball out quick. Daniel Jones also has the tied for the longest release in the league. So that is problematic. That said, halftime, Sunday, Sander.
He was chatting it up.
Sander was talking a lot of smack. And as everyone knows, that junk talking didn't age well.
Rightfully.
Not age well.
Rightfully so. Obviously, we saw what it was. It looked bad for the Giants. You can't get mad at him for talking. But, a big thing we mentioned before.
A little bit, though.
We mentioned before, a big thing, before the season began, big thing Daniel Jones needed to learn how to do was win games in the second half. That was one thing I brought up. I said Eli Manning was really good at winning games in the second half. He has a ton of comebacks for us in the second half. That, when he had the ball at the end of the game, a lot of Giants fans felt comfortable and you felt like you actually had an opportunity. I think Daniel Jones last week has shown us a glimmer that he can actually be that guy for us. And again, I said that's the missing piece for me. I need to see Daniel Jones being able to pull this team, out of the fire, out of the dark, and being able to go out there and, pull a win for us. And that's what he did. So I think we're seeing a lot of growth and a lot of steps in Daniel Jones in only week 2. I can't wait to see what the rest of this year, has for us because I think a lot of people are doubting us, obviously, with our schedule, with our personnel, with our players. But I think the Giants, again, I still stand on my laurels. I think we have a really good chance of making the playoffs and being a really good team this year. I'm not backing down on what I said. First game didn't rattle me at all. Again, you throw in weather, you throw in circumstances. There's so much that happened in that game to break down. We could break it down for a month probably. But, again, the Giants showed us some fight. They showed us they want to continue. And I'm ready to see what week 3, brings for us, despite all the controversy that week 2 ended with. Whether it be the Kayvon Thibodeau situation or whether Barkley's playing or not, whatever those situations, I'm actually, I'm can't wait to see how this goes.
We'll get to that in a hot minute. Sander admits he did go ham. It motivated Dable to put a fire in his boys. Yeah, I'll say it was embarrassing, Sander, and you definitely were definitely chapping our. I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
He was chatting. That's the best way to put it. He was chatting. He was just running his mouth. He was chatting.
Aunt Dom here has it right. These goddamn Giants, man.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Well said. Very well said. Gotta ask you this before we look forward to tomorrow night's game. How much do you love Darren Waller? Or better, how much does Daniel Jones love Darren Waller and hopefully he's going to stay healthy. He looks amazing so far.
That's his go-to target right now. You can go, Zay.
No, you could have went, but yeah, no, he is. I agree with Sean. His favorite target right now. He's putting up numbers. He's actually the highest. I think he has the most amount of yards of all tight ends in the league right now. And it's just going to show you that for a long time, Daniel Jones has needed a comfortable, reliable safety blanket outside of Saquon Barkley, where he can throw the ball above the first down line, above 10 yards, above 15 yards, and actually feel comfortable that he can make a play. For so long, we've had guys who may catch the ball, may not catch the ball, may make a play. But for now, first time in Daniel Jones' career, he has a Waller, a safety blanket, someone who makes him feel comfortable. And again, the stats have shown it. He's leading the league. So he's been a huge improvement over what we had. I would love to see Bellinger get more involved in the offense because I think Bellinger is still a great tight end. I don't want to forget about him. But yeah, him and Waller, that connection has been nothing but beautiful since they've gotten together.
Yeah, I mean, Waller's just a mismatch nightmare. If you want to put a safety or linebacker on him, he's going to run right past them. If you want to put a smaller nickel corner on him, he's just too big for him. So I think we're going to see Jones to Waller a lot this year. And as Zay said, it leads the league in receiving yards by tight end so far. And that's even after a quiet week one where obviously, he didn't get that many touches. But I think we're going to enjoy that a lot. I think that he might get into the end zone tomorrow night. And it gives another element to this offense where we have speed on the outside, but having that speed in the inside at the tight end position just going to open up a lot for this offense. And I think he'll end up having probably the most receiving yards and catches by any Giants receiver this year.
I will point out, by the way, that the 2007 Giants, a team that went on to win the Super Bowl, lost its first game to Dallas 45-35 and then lost to Green Bay 35-13. So the Giants gave up 80 points in the first two games.
Hold on. And was on the verge of blowing the third game until the second half of that Redskins game, or the second half of the game, where they ended up actually coming back to win that game and it flipped the whole season around. They rolled
absolutely correct. 24-17 win. Yes, sir. So again, look, the Giants, it's funny you say it didn't you weren't totally freaked out because that's not unusual for the Giants. So all right, let's talk about, obviously there's a huge matchup here coming up. It is Thursday Night Football. The New York Giants taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This is official, by the way. Saquon Barkley will not be playing tomorrow night against the 49ers. So that's a little problematic, I think, for the Giants. But Saquon played well. He didn't play great. I think now that Daniel Jones has Darren Waller, I think he might be a little less reliant on the swing pass to the running back, whether that be Beretta or whoever is in the backfield this week with Saquon out. I would think that Darren Waller is going to see a dozen targets this week. Sean, is that roughly about right?
Yeah, I'd say probably around 10. I would definitely expect that. We're going to have to get something out of that passing game. I just don't think that we're going to, run the ball too many times other than maybe a couple design runs for DJ. I think Burrito will get some carries, but I think it's going to be a big passing game. I think it will be a lot of quick game because you don't want DJ standing back there against this Niners pass rush with a bunch of, second string O linemen in there. I don't think you want them to be dropping back all day. So a lot of quick passing, I think, will be the move this week. And that goes right to Darren Waller, getting right off the line and getting him the ball, I think will be huge. So I see him getting 10 targets this week. But I think that we're going to be trailing in this game too. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to go too well. So I think a lot of pass opportunities will be there. So I think Waller will get a lot of targets. Slayton, Shepard, a lot of quicks, quick routes for some of the slot guys. So I expect a lot for Darren Waller and Paris Campbell maybe.
What are your thoughts on this comment from Sander? Don't come at me, bro, but I wouldn't be surprised if
the Cowboys are 2-0. They look like one of the best teams in the league, and he can't even focus on that. That's Cowboys fans are just miserable. We live rent-free in their head, even though we're 1-1 and we don't look great. Just worry about your team, all right? Worry about your team going 13-4 and then losing in the first round again. All right, Sander? Don't come at the Giants right now, okay? Pause. We all know what's going to happen. It happens every year.
I love Sander because, listen, if there was a Cowboys podcast, I'm sure he'd be watching that instead. And since there's not, he does watch the podcast, and we do
I
appreciate that,
appreciate the views. I can't stand Cowboys
Sandra. Zay, are the Giants in trouble this week? Is this going to be a bad one? Do the wheels fall off the bus? Is this like a 38-14 kind of a yikes?
The schedule would say the way the schedule has been, the way we've been playing, everything would point to yes, but history would point to no. The Giants have been heavy underdogs coming into the Levi Stadium or wherever they want to call San Fran. They've been heavy underdogs many a times, and the Giants have found ways to pull it off in some of the most unlikely scenarios. Obviously, the game with Eli Manning back in the 2011 run, where the Giants were huge underdogs in that game. He found a way to pull it off there. And they played them in the NFC Championship game back in 1990, where they were able to get through that. But those were NFC Championship games. This is the third
You know what
year.
helps to have, though? You know what really helps to have? Lawrence Taylor. That will go a long way. Listen, let's say this. Jokes aside here, this defense, Thibodeau, Williams, and Lawrence in particular, they got to start playing. And also, I think Okereke, not hearing that name a whole lot right now, and that is disappointing. And I forgot which of you mentioned before Joshua Dobbs running over Xavier McKinney.
That was not pretty.
Not inspiring defense. And I was saying to Sean just before we hit the airwaves, look, I think if you keep this defense off the field and then they come out rested, they play a lot better as they did in the second half. If the offense can sustain some stuff and get moving and keep them off the field, and also, maybe don't get down by a quick 30 is key here.
It is key.
Oh yeah, that would help. And especially when you look at our D-line, when you're relying on them to get a pass rush, when you have rookie cornerbacks, you have to try and help them out. And luckily, so far, Banks and Hawkins have held up fairly well for being rookie cornerbacks, but you got to help them out a little bit with, Kayvon, Aziz, Dex, and Leo. They got to be there. They haven't shown up in the first 2 weeks at all. Leo was getting pushed around like a rag doll last week. Dexter's been okay. Kayvon, obviously, I know there's been a lot of heat in the media this week, but I'm not saying he's nowhere near bust territory. People that are saying that I think are idiotic, but he does have to start to pick it up and get this pass rush going, because you can't leave those two rookie corners on islands all game. Eventually, it's going to all break through. So I think that the pass rush has to start to get it going this week. It will only help out the rookie corners who so far have actually, held up pretty well. But I mean, those guys are getting paid a lot of money up front. They got to be able to be there and get after the quarterback.
Evan Neal is playing. Not well, but he is definitely playing.
He's out there. You can promise that.
Yeah, remember y'all wanted that. I wanted Gardner. Don't like to laugh. I wanted Sauce. Y'all wanted Evan Neal.
Yeah, you did say that the other day in our chat, and I feel like you're really sticking by that. In the moment, it all seemed right.
Him and Thibodeau have not looked good for the first picks of our GM. They have not looked good.
And yet he gets a pass still, it seems like.
Honestly,
playoffs in his first year, so that will help it out.
Last GM might have bought more talent on the team. Hate to be look, he bought Thomas in, he bought Jones, he bought Saquon, who everyone complains about and says we need, even though if you go back to Green Bay, there were drives that Green Bay game last year, there were drives Saquon was out the whole drive and Daniel Jones went down the field and scored. So I don't understand what the whole premise is that Daniel Jones needs, Saquon Barkley, but you can hate on Gettleman bought some talent. He made some mistakes with Galladay. Don't get me wrong. Guys like Galladay, that was a mistake. But he also bought in talent. He bought in Dexter Lawrence. He bought in Leonard Williams. He bought in Xavier McKinney. These guys who we are, at least last year we were raving about. So we can't completely just drop the axe on Gettleman. He did bring talent. Wandale Robinson is talent. There are guys on that roster that he did bring. And it's just about getting these guys to play up to their potential.
All right. Zay's got to bounce. We're on a limited time basis here with Zay. So let's talk about. No, it's all good, my man. I'm glad that you're here. We needed it. We needed you here. Let's talk about fantasy locks. Sean, why don't you go first? Who's your fantasy lock?
I'm going with the man himself, Bijan Robinson. He's been a beast so far, especially fantasy wise. But he's got a lot more touches, or he got a lot more touches in week 2. Finally scored his first touchdown. But this guy's going to be a 20 to 25 touch a guy game or per game for the Falcons. There's a reason that they went and drafted him super high for a running back, and he's going to continue it against a Lions defense that isn't that great. Lions offense puts up a lot of points, so I expect this to be a high scoring game. But if the Falcons want to win this game, they're going to want to hold on to the ball for a little bit, try and run that clock. So I expect a lot of Bijan in this game, coming out of the backfield too. So Bijan's going to have a monster week, and he's going to lead every player in the NFL in fantasy points this week.
Whoa, Zay,
I called a lock for no reason
this week. Yeah, no kidding.
I got what would normally be the gimme of the week if the Chiefs weren't playing LA. I actually have Mac Jones. Give me Mac Jones all day against the Jets. The Jets are going through a really rough patch right now, and there's nothing more I'd love as a Giants fan than to beat down on the Jets even more. So I'm going to take Mac Jones this week. He should have a big game. He should be able to put up against numbers against this team, a defense that's really good, even though they claim they're historic. They haven't shown it yet. But the fact that their offense is basically non-existent with Zach Wilson running it, they'll be on the field too many times. Mac Jones should have a ton of time to score. He should have a ton of drives to score. So look for Mac Jones to put up a ton of points against the Jets this week.
Mac Jones. I thought this was Zay's pick, not Joe's.
I know.
I do like it. I do like it. I don't think you guys.
Mac Jones.
I don't think you guys are going to like my pick at all.
Oh, it's gonna be
my fantasy lock for this
McCaffrey,
week
isn't it? Yeah,
Christian McCaffrey. I got to tell you, I've watched the first 2 Niners games, and he's healthy, and oh my god, oh geez, with that offense is ridiculous. This guy's a beast. I would expect. Again, the way the Giants defense has been playing, not getting the job done against the run. And as I mentioned, the second level of this defense has also been terrible, which means this guy's going to be catching all kinds of passes. It's going to be a rough week. So that is
terrible.
Our fantasy locks
of
the week.
Change. I'm changing my pick now. I want the Giants. I want somebody. The Giants are now going to win the game. Joe just mushed it.
All right, let's wrap things up here. We're going to hit on there's some big games this week. We're going to start off obviously with the Giants and the 49ers. Sean, give me a score on this game.
I'll go 31-17. I think they lose by 2 touchdowns. I think they keep it somewhat close into the second half, show more fight than they did for those first 6 quarters. I think they start to figure things a little bit out on offense, but Niners are one of the best teams in the league, so that they're no joke. So I think we keep it somewhat close, and they pull away late. So I'll go 31-17 Niners.
Zay?
I'm seeing a 2017 type of game. I hear the output. I hear about how good they are, but I think the Giants actually have a load of confidence right now. I think they know where they've been and where they don't want to be again. So I think the Giants will swing along. But I'm thinking 2017 Giants and not 49ers. Ooh. I'm thinking the Giants pull this one out by the skin of their teeth. I think Dable understands right now, being a New York coach, you're going to be under fire every time something happens or doesn't go your way. And I think he learned that after the first game. And I think he's learning that now with the second game when everybody questioning whether or not he made the calls or Kafka made the calls. So I think in order to make sure things don't get out of hand again, I think Dable from the jump he will be riding the ship as the captain, and he will make the calls from the jump. And I think the Giants will find a way to stay in it. I think they'll keep it close. I think it'll be 20-17. They could just keep Daniel Jones off his back. I think they should be fine.
I got 38-24 49ers. I think the Giants get into a big hole. I think the Giants come up short, but I think they have another strong second half. All right. Titans versus Cleveland. Sean.
Score on this one. I think the Browns will pull it out even without Nick Chubb. I think that their offense has been a little bit improved. I think Deshaun Watson will look better in this game than he did on Monday night. But the Titans defense is pretty tough, so I think it'll be a somewhat low-scoring game. I'll say Browns pull this out 23-20. I think they'll win by a field goal.
Zay, Titans, Cleveland.
I'm gonna go Titans on this one. I'm not really impressed with Cleveland. Obviously Nick Chubb was their horse. I do not like what I'm seeing from Deshaun Watson. He's getting paid way too much money to be playing the way he's been playing. He's been completely inaccurate. He doesn't look comfortable in the pocket. He just hasn't been the Deshaun Watson that was really, really good in Houston. I don't know if it's because he's not getting rubbed down anymore after games, but he just hasn't been the same player. So again, I'm a Houston. I watch Houston's Texans. I'm not a Texas fan. I do watch Houston. I was shocked when they traded Watson, but now I see why they traded Watson. They're looking like the winners of this trade. So, yeah, I'm going to see Tennessee in this one. I'm not really big on the score situation. I haven't watched most of them play much this year, but I will say Tennessee. But I do got to run, guys. Great show. I will see you guys later. Got to get back to the live show. Apologies.
All right, I'm going to go 24-16. I think Titans win this game. All right, let's go Atlanta versus Detroit, which is suddenly a game everybody's into.
Yeah, I mean the Falcons, second year under Arthur Smith, they've actually looked pretty impressive. They added a lot of players on defense. Jesse Bates has probably been the best safety in football so far. Added to their front seven, but I think the Lions are still a little bit better. I think it'll be a pretty good game. I think there will be a lot of points in this one. I'd probably end up taking the over, but I think that the Dolphins. I think the Lions will pull this out. I'd probably say 30-26. I'm feeling, but I think Bijan will have a monster day, like I said, and I expect a lot of points out of this one. I think it'll be a fun game.
I got 30-28 Detroit.
Great minds think alike.
I like that. Yeah. Let's talk Chargers, Minnesota. Somebody's going 0-3 here. I think it's going to be the Chargers that go 0-3. Again, I don't know about you, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now. Justin Herbert leads this team to losses a lot, and it's everybody else's fault. He 3-and-outed. They lost the game. I mean, come on, dude. It take a little responsibility for never putting your team in a great position to win the game. All the numbers, all the talent, it's getting sad. I think Kirk Cousins gets it figured out this week.
Yeah, I mean this one's just the battle of the mid. I mean both these teams just can't figure it out. I feel like they're kind of this similar teams, like the same team in each conference. They both have great offenses, high powered, but just can't really figure it out. So I'd probably agree. I think the Vikings will pull this one out, but both these teams are just super disappointing. I mean both made the playoffs last year, but I don't think they will this year. Just two teams with a lot of talent, but just never can really seem to figure it out. So I think this one would be ugly. I think it will be an ugly season for both these teams. But if I had to pick, say Vikings, I don't know, 28-27, 1 point game. Vikings
I like that. I'm going 30-24. I think Herbert has the ball late, maybe with about a minute to go, and he turns the ball over. That seems to be what he does.
Wouldn't be a shocker.
All right. Then the Monday Night Football game, Eagles versus the possible contender Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shawnee, what do you got?
Yeah, they're not a possible contender. They've looked good through 2 weeks. I think their defense still has a lot of talent from those Brady teams that has showed up. Baker Mayfield hasn't looked like he doesn't know what's going on out there. So that's a good sign for them. But the Eagles are one of the elite teams in the NFL. They're going to win this one pretty handily, I think, by at least 10. I'd probably say 31-18 Eagles win this one. But I do think the Bucs Bucks have a chance to win this division just because of their defense, and if Baker doesn't turn the ball over, so much, that they have a shot. But Eagles are just much better than them.
Yeah, chalk me down for a 38-16 Philadelphia win.
That sounds right.
Man, that feels
I like
good.
the sound of it.
All right, good show this week.
Great show.
I feel good.
Week.
I feel good. I feel good. The Giants are feeling good. Make sure you follow us, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Join About the Gmen. You can also visit clovercrestmedia.com/Join About the Gmen. For King's A, Isaiah Groves, and Sean Scanlon, I am Joe Aguirre. We will talk to you next week on Join About the Gmen.